welcome to the GOBS Collective showcase with the incredible Casey Bailey. I'm Bridie and this is Ioney, and we're the lead writers at GOBS Collective. GOBS Collective is a movement of spoken word artists. We're in Nottingham and we run discussions, workshops, performances and 12-week experiences for anyone who's passionate about words, about poetry, performance, ideas, and sharing those with other people. Over the past 12 weeks, we've been working with this amazing group of artists. It's our second group of artists. We've run one 12-week program before, and this is our second one. And we've been developing poetry through workshops and masterclasses and ultimately spoken word performances. And so for this show, we're going to be showing you poetry films and live performances off the back of all that work over the past 12 weeks.
So, ordinarily, we should be delivering these workshops in person, but obviously, you know, lockdown was an international crisis, if you haven't heard. So we've had to think out the box, basically. Yeah, so rather than shutting us down, we chose to use lockdown as a opportunity to be creative in different ways. So this is going to be a showcase of two halves. The first half, you'll be viewing poetry films created by some of the GOBS Collective who have used film to translate their poem into and add another layer of beauty and spectacularness. So
we're really looking forward to the show and for you to see what we've been working on. Please, if you like what you see, go on Twitter, go on Facebook, go on Instagram and let us know. Take photos, and we're at GOBS Collective on social media. Also to let you know about our anthology / digital zine that is currently on our website. It would be great if you could go over to the website and check it out so you can read along to the poems that you'll see. They're all in the order of how they're going to be shown tonight. Yeah, download the anthology and see this amazing work that you're about to see.
Whoop, whoop, do it now. But before you do that, right, get comfy, get your popcorn, get your onesie on and watch the first half. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
My eye covered the top of absence, but it wasn't empty. There were bonfires in the autumn before home got lost in me. I'd get up at dawn to shop with you, when the birds were still groggy, the roads were empty, and the sky wasn't blue. I liked the air, and the flowers, and the interesting characters, and I loved spending time with you. You encouraged me not to be idle, to fight for what I wanted to do, and I guess I'm listening again because I have to be without you. I will always have the fruit and the knowledge you gifted me of how to pick the best yams and satsumas. Things broke down, and I needed space like all kids do, and I'm sorry I couldn't take care of you the way you needed me to. Every time I got a bit better, something swayed me, broke me, hurt me, and I was too much of a mess to be good to you. I think you forgave me. And I hope one day I can forgive me for not being the me that I know that I can be. Sometimes you have to scream to get better, even though I'm English and I really don't want to. Sometimes I couldn't tell if you were being kind or giving up, but I'm glad the last thing I did was be kind to you. I'm scared no one will ever be as happy to see me as you were again. My sadness made me feel like I was losing everything before things started avalanching. I hope there's rest and Guinness and curry mutton where you are, and not one more wicked person trying to hurt you.
My arch nemesis, picking off the scabs of week-old wounds, soaking off the stains of last night's bolognese, mum's recipe. Hands slip into water. Calm. As palms are greeted, dull tip-taps as pomegranate bubbles slowly dissipate. My mind ticks over. My hands grab, lift, dunk, place. Dum, 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 dum. Like robot factory movie scene. Over and over, it rolls in my mind. People flicker in and out of view. Cleaning chopsticks like old teachers that taught me to knit scarves, and skinny dipping in granny pants appears in wet ceramic, hands scorched by boiling water, unnoticed. Glazed eyes hide wandering mind. My worth lurks in here. Floating leftovers, tomato skins and chicken bits, avoided thoughts. Persistent coriander and curdled mayonnaise. Tea leaves in my stainless steel teacup as I pull the plug on visions of future children jumping out from kitchen cupboards. Gazing out windows, I tear the frying pan up through the air. As the water falls off dripping, my mind rushes to Eureka. Galileo, Einstein, and Newton, elbow deep in dishwater, picking apple peel from the drain. It's a syncpiphany, a revelation, a memory, a whisper in my mind. It's scribbled on paper or told to friends. It's I love yous and thank yous and never leave me's. They're golden nuggets uncovered in coal mines. It's finding the life in the death of washing up.
I just have a lot to give. My life is like a river in a fairly controlled irrigation scheme, which sometimes can't deliver the right amount of outpouring from this large amount of rain I have all sorts of water in my sometimes marshy brain, in which I think too much. I'm the kind of scattered shower that tries so hard to hold it in and finally rains for hours. When I get very all over the place, and you get very wet. I just have a lot to give. Please take. Receive. For when I know that I can be myself to you. For when I know that I can be myself to you. When I know that I can be myself. I just say, I love you. Without water imagery. I love you. Without water imagery.
Young and bred on fresh baked loaves, ice cream dripping from a cone, I watch the boys dive in. Off the jetty through the foam, sons of Aphrodite, my feet on roasted rocks. The crabs and urchins pinch, frothing blood rising like this thirst in me. Sky as light as English eyes, and up there heaven, where the glare of icons, copper crowns and royal blue subdue my restless tongue, the more eager of the two. Intertwined to a serpentine being, Anangi Chronos writhing like this dread in me. Lift off from the hob-hot concrete to land on soft-trod grass, cows and pubs, pound shop fags. Hand in hand I'll walk with girls where branches curl above, where ghosts are one with God, and tables tip, a trick or treat, Reynardine, a foxman's smile, hell-bent to feed this fear in me. Bolex dreams and same-sex scenes, action, cut and edit. What I won't learn, I'll never know. A boy with goals, forging deals with fairies. Celluloid and carob leaves, boomerangs flung across the sea and back to me, to sink and breed and keep this thing in me.
White privilege. 1. No black people in our town. None I saw, only comments, nudges. Faces lined with soot, passed along terraces to home, scrubbed clean, then to chapels, preaching empire, gold gleaming off high altars. Men spoke of all men being equal. Hit hard on the beat, repeat a sequel in my heart I knew. Strike Q, struggles to overthrow English owners, Sisneg, overlords. We did not stand all for one, one for all. 2, a new girl in class, no one speaks. Her difference is in her swagger, a black girl all alone. I tried to talk to her, a blagger, not listening. The divide is here, it never occurs, my land is hers. Both outsiders, accents fan flames of mockery. The parakeet, a loud bird, blames you, makes fun. excludes. Guilty by association, I walk on into the crowd. 3, hit the beat, make it pretty later. We move to a city, a port full of voyagers who cook curries, wafting spice in the air. We have money to buy a new house. It's fine for us to migrate for work. We are the steel, the coal, the factories. Others will steal, do the dough, all of these. Such myths, dinosaurs on plinths, old riffs, play on a loop, maintaining a tentative sense of privilege. 4, at university, abstract exoticism, notes clashing, touchstones slowly changing. No qualms dancing with a friend from Birmingham, a black man. They say, he's one to watch, a panther who harms. Though the only aggro from him questions my fashion tastes. He makes suggestions, then come reports, comments, questions. White friends say he was violent today. We called him names, cultural stereotypes. He lashed out, ruined our paradise. Broke a student's nose, all blood, unprepared to overlook racist taunts. 5, an awareness pumping in pulsing rhythm. A trip to Africa, apartheid slaps these rosy cheeks. On the beaches, signs read, coloureds, blacks, whites, freaks, sorted out in laundry piles, washed to look respectable. Extinct dodos present, still breathing, haughty looks omnipresent. White battalions swallow their guilt, hurt everywhere, slipping down throats, screeching guitars, castles, deep moats. Do not enter this club, flags flying, scurry with geckos to hide away, crying. 6, days in the sun, white privilege has not been won, handed down in class. This power is a trespass, an invasion across others' dreams. There is no justice until we end regimes. No man is an island. Stop drifting by as icebergs carve into the sea. We are alive. The man kneeling for police will not survive. Statues of slavery standing unchallenged. Time has come to right wrongs barely imagined. Face the music, white privilege, part of me, lurking in history. An albatross.
The languages that follow us from ancestors to ancestors, peer to peer, new generations, are treasures for navigation. Madres, abuelas, cartographers, from codex to cassettes and SMS, lyrical captains, seafaring through idioms, build captions within our peripheral visions. Indigenous, aliens, hegemony invasions have forced us to assemble internal translations, supremacist standards, inferiority complex, our tongues tiptoe on eggshells, stumble on clear intentions. Stand up after you fall, and remember, mi cielo, that our maternal lingo is a hug from the cradle of civilization. The words our forebears would knit are the mainsails that guide us. No cause of shame, but joy and recreation. Acquisition devices still surf on our plasma, while we float on the knowledge of past, future, and present. For the cold of the north, as our envoy continues, we will dialect as codes, functionality and pleasure. May every one of us decode the messages contained within our protein sequences.
Chronic. She is a dewy-eyed, bobblehead quadruped with a spring in her crawl. All she knows is songs in C major and saving her troubles for later. Her only foe is the nighttime and nappy rash. She giggles at the hiss of hi-hats and lip syncs to 90s synths that she thought she could sound out forever, and plucks a pearl straight from the world's oyster to suck on at night. Turquoise skies turn monochrome and dewy eyes turn dry. All she knows now is scratched up records and suspicious lumps. A drone flies low overhead without any target, blind to the monster that peeks over her fleshy horizon. The monster has a sense of humour and a funny, unsexy name that no one can pronounce, far too long to remember, far too serious to joke about with her friends. It skips around the bends of her body, beatboxes and scats to a grating disco track called I'm Not Leaving. She invests in some earplugs, but the monster starts a rock band. It ravages her body in rehearsals and headbangs through the pores of her skin. The shuffle of soaked bandages becomes its percussion, and its encores only come to an end in a curtain of steam and a pop of ibuprofen. They try to carve the monster out of her, but it starts a choir and steals the headline slot. Her entire body files a noise complaint, wails and waits for the monster's latest corporeal concert to come to an end. She sends the monster cease and desist letters. It uses them as napkins to mop the sweat from its brow. She removes her earplugs for the first time and is surprised to find the monster's gurgles are starting to make sense. She listens, learns, relents to the monster's rhythms, finds truth in its repetitions and in its raspy refrain. She exchanges blame for patience. She writes a symphony with her pain. She leaps out of her flesh and calls the monster by its name.
They told me the corpse of a fighting conch contained in its contours the swells of the sea, as though it were nature's sound recorder, stowing memories for eternities it could not remember. Still, they could replay their lives like storytellers, every wave and grain of sand etched into the vinyl wax, carved as quavers and semi-breathes onto the staves of themselves, soft lips coated with a thin crust of outer whirl. An ocean inside itself, each pulsing tide amplified by labyrinthine chambers, the space where flesh should be. In a primary school music lesson, I put one to my ear, expecting silence, lies. Suburbia dissolved, as though my town was a sand village reclaimed by a hungry sea in reckless advance. I was, in my inland classroom, at the beach, a memory of seagulls' mews, a distant scent of salt on chips, warm waves lapping my swim-strained legs, and my mother's voice, echoing out the heart of the shell, calling my name and holding a melting ice cream cone. Pass it on, my teacher said, and I tore the shell from my ear, and the beach dissipated, its imagined sands stripped back by waves no less tidal for being unreal. The bare classroom walls materialized, heavy as city air, the traffic jam cacophony, drowning the sea sounds that stretched in my ear for a stretched. Second, as if it were itself a conch, silk wax scored by memory. Sometimes I think I hear a rumour of a receding sea. I listen out for you.
I spent all day in a damp cow field looking for mushrooms with a magic to turn waking life into the stuff of dreams at night. But all I found was poisonous fungi popped up in itchy places like stars on an eyelid. What if I were the tumours in my mother's breast and bones, attaching to her branches and grass like death caps? I would bloom in the winter's frost, find my home nestled in the mush of her marrow and blood. When spring comes, I'll die by suicide because her body is too warm for my gills to breathe with ease. But I die with a crescent moon touching my cheeks because I know I'm poison. I don't carry the spells to fix the aches made in childhood. I am death, and I know it. So I'll drink in the chemo, sip it like a fruit punch on a hot day in July and die. Die. So she can live and continue to stir magic into teacups and mugs like daffodils in spring she'll continue to sing in the dewy sun. Although dead, I won't be gone, always threatening to return with the winter's frost. This is the dance of hope and loss, constantly twirling in the dizzy song of a rave in a cow field where and when the cows have been ushered on to graze on a grass that's greener, so brains can untangle their knots in a quest for freedom. In places incantations happen, but fail to ward off the haunting of my ghost under the oak.
The weight of my pain and trauma. I just don't know how I carry it. I can hear it, whispering, getting me to the point I just don't want to be here. Just living feels heavy. They make out like it's lemon squeezy. Go on social media. You'll see posts of pretty women dancing in beautiful skirts, burning herbs, chanting sacred sounds. It's not easy. Turning rocks into precious metals, turning dreams into reality, turning self-loathing into self-love, surrendering to the now, the laws, to the balance of the natural world, surrendering to the fact that I am transmuting. Magician, alchemist. Self-love, love for others, peaceful, getting butterflies and palpitations, feeling that warmth, light and airy, knowing reality is okay, accepting who I am. I am worthy. I am love. Like that of a child, running, skipping, hopping, jumping, twirling, touching leaves, smelling flowers. I'm a fairy, a unicorn, alien, drifting through space, time, dimensions, knowing anything I put my mind to, I can create, overstanding my visions, my thoughts. Do not define me. I am in control. Closing my eyes and manifesting the life my higher self deserves, using my imagination. We all slip, we all fall, we all trip. It's getting back up, giving up, never. When you open your eyes, give thanks. As your feet touch terra firma, stretch high, give thanks. It's a blessing, sentinel being. Living a life that no one can explain, travelling on a ball of rock around a ball of gas, hurtling thousands of miles a day. The key to success? Gratitude.
Dante's being a dick again. He's rattling the teeth in slinky preachers off the cobbled back streets, sharpening their Cuban heels on whetstones, child pose conductors, heretic yoga, and this, their art in human form. I commence my practice, prowling the street aisles on all fours. Infant cave shadows drunk with the cold of wars, thrown at the morning in neon overcoats. The carefully lit photography of the biggest Mac dangling from a single thread. Wind-buffeted pendular spectres at play with the unbaptized and virtuous pagans below. I pass lower ranking bus stop practitioners in plain song. They have the foresight of a journey ahead. Sage seers hemmed into the sides of the city, the stillness of waiting to travel, the charms of apathy endear me. Others I meet, groomed as tyrant saints, Napoleon on weekends. A dozen town criers touching tongues from the hurricane, the chink of marble beaks waging battle to empty halls, a multi-headed snake at the bar ordering frozen mice, old gods with faded tattoos reminiscing, sipping two for once, a deep, tight chest I have entered, with red clay through my feet and feathers clutched in my hand. Some beasts are so big, they can't even fit. Some so small, yet they take up everything. As I push on, I wonder if I walk through hell just to stretch my legs. And after a while, I see its form take on the horizon, and I come to my destination. The lattice work on the back of the monument, is it a sign of quality or overworking? Maybe it's not meant for me to ask. Maybe it's for the crows to muse on, the retirement community of the afterlife, the inner circle of swans at the distant reservoir. It has become, nonetheless, a place to slumber, whilst I have dreams of flying. Dante exits stage left, throwing glitter and pulling faces. It never occurred to me that I may be wild in the wrong wilderness.
Wow. I am sure you will agree the poetry films that we've just seen from GOBS Collective in the first half were absolutely incredible. Massive thank you to all of our poets who produce poetry films for us for this showcase. A massive thank you too to Rebecca Goldsmith, who is an audio-visual artist who led our poetry film masterclass for us some weeks ago now. For those of you that are in the live Zoom webinar, I can see Rebecca in the webinar. So hi to Rebecca, and thank you so much for your support and your inspiration. While we're on thank yous, we want to say a massive thank you to Curated and Created by NTU and Apples and Snakes. These organisations are both our partners and supporters, and GOBS Collective really wouldn't be possible without the support of those organisations. We also want to say a massive thank you to MakerMet, who have been helping us to bring GOBS together. All of this lovely showcase is happening thanks to their support. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other side of the break we're going to have our live performers, which we're just so excited to show you. So yeah, go grab a drink, take a little break, and we'll see you back here in about 5 minutes time. See you on the other side.
Hello, I made it back. The internet tried to destroy me, but it will not work. I'm stronger than you, Virgin. So good to have you back. This is the GOBS Collective Poetry Showcase. If you're just joining, you've kind of missed the first half, just saying. But don't worry, because in a few weeks, this will actually be broadcast on Notts TV. So yeah, look out for that. So this half of the showcase will be focused on GOBS Collective live poetry performances. And me personally, I really think poetry is not for the people, not just in lockdown. But with that said, it has been really helpful during lockdown to meet every week with these wonderful people. Poetry really thrives on specificity. It really requires people to name their world, and poetry invites you to pause, to take a closer look, to breathe. And it's a powerful and present way to experience life. So for this half, I invite you to experience the world through the words of the GOBS Poetry Collective. So I'm going to hand it over to the live performers. Big it up, you lot. You lot are going to smash it.
Fridge Villanelle. I open up the fridge and I forget. My thoughtless eyes swim over stuff within. I had a reason to come here, and yet I spot a half-refracted silhouette. I lose it as it plunges in the chill. I open up the fridge and I forget. And what mnemonic have I left unmet? Who would look here for anything but food? I had a reason to come here, and yet all scaly with those magnets you can get, a silver body flecked in pinks and greens. I open up the fridge and I forget. I fish forgotten thoughts with tattered net. There was a purpose when I came downstairs. I had a reason to come here, and yet. Why did I start to write this fridge vignette? The door swung wide, the light does not come on. I open up the fridge and I forget. I had a reason to come here. And yet.
I miss pillow talk. Those backward dives into sand pack you eyes. 3 whites, 2 lives, finally entwined. Curling myself in cerebral folds. A breaststroke against a juicy temporal lobe. I want to bathe in a brain. Slurp on a stream of dopamine. Match my heart to a beat of neurons, flirting in fuchsia dreams. Limbs tangled while we gamble with soul chips and suck lips and toe dip, then love trip, gaze first towards serotonin bliss. Let me love to love you. Wrap a cognitive cocoon round fragile stems of this lust bloom. A vivid recollection of a cortex treasure already dying. Already dying. Already dead. I miss pillow talk. Drowning in white lies. Tossed by a current of adoring demise. Little spoon, the echo of quick, blinked time.
My watch must get so bored, ticking over the same numbers relentlessly. They wish for new numbers, and they're fed up of the eventuality of hitting midnight. Slowly making their way over set digits, because it's their only job. Putting on my smudgy black makeup for the day, I think, I put this on just to take it off. Every time I take it off in the evening, it feels like a constant cycle. Inky lines on stark white wipes and melting beige foundation. Day after day, Wasting the time away, I reach for a game. I choose Othello. And I've decided that the dark and angel white pieces represent life and death. Cheerful, I know. And then I wonder if Dad's life could have flipped to black if the operation went wrong. Dad wins the game, and my thoughts are replaced with annoyance. The next day I look over to the river and think, someday this will all dry up and the mud will crack. And there won't be any ducks blissfully floating downstream. And then the river meets my windows, crashing through the panes, refreshing everything I am and ever was, while it still can. Whilst I'm drying off, my mum calls me and recites her birthday plans. And I forget about the death of the river. In the evening, I watch a video about the eventual collapse of the sun. And the vastness of space scares me. And the carpet underneath my feet, it feels too warm, and I know that the earth is overheating already. And I'm messaging my friend and realise that someday his heart will stop. And I look down to my feet and know that these plump toes will probably be cremated someday along with the rest of me. And then I stretch my limbs, take off my watch, and wiggle my toes. Because these things haven't happened yet.
Remember when the grass was cut at school? We'd wade through the dense musk, hanging at nose level, collecting armfuls enough to build a mansion flat like a floor plan. Those days diminished as nights protracted. Kids' innocence dying with the light earlier each night, turning those grass houses with doors shut tight to mush. You watch. Perched high on the mangled trees of naked limbs that interlock more closely than you ever hoped to be. And you're quivering like a small chick dwarfed by an eagle whose fury turns red apples dark purple. You're dreaming of bath time, when crimson stains more than just the skin and, well, the princesses on your toothbrush, they have an opinion. Rose-tinted glasses ripped off, age 8. Auburn evenings. A car window chills your cheek as light's malicious burn taunts the retinas in flashes. You're watching leaves on branches imitate art like two bodies touching. Almost. Question. When does curiosity stop and consent begin? And I don't want to do this anymore. Work. Long snowy mornings. Still horizontal as a hot sun burns through the pretty dress the clouds made for the earth. Remnants of the artwork kissing passers-by who braved a coat, hat and scarf, but not you. Hear this soft, empty laughter. His images full of bowling balls too heavy, eyes leak and freckles glint like glitter or falling flecks of dust quiet. To the ground. Sunshine. Sticky over the world. Glazed donuts make your taste buds tingle with sin, and blue and pink slushies turn your brain to ice. Lazy afternoons as yellow buttercups under your chin finally tell the truth. Memories of branches lost as leaves hide winding secrets, keeping you safe. Feel bliss, becoming part of it, outside of it. Your mouth is still shut tight like the doors on grass houses, but memories start to fuzz around the edges, so life seems almost worthwhile.
It's been so long, and we have not slept. I wonder where the moon goes now, who she twirls for, stares at. I thought I would miss her peeking through my window, but why would you need a lamp when the dark never comes? They stopped printing horoscopes in the paper because no one knew where the planets were. Habit held hands with the world until our fingers pruned, and finally we were forced to learn what our hands could do. We never really needed hours and weeks and Tuesday. The night did not know me like she thought she did. Mattress shops became fallout shelters. The nightlife choked itself out. The post stopped coming and all because everyone just kept arguing about what next day delivery should mean. Class came to mean something else entirely, and everyone just stopped eating carrots because there was no dark to see in. I think I misunderstood her until now. The moon. I Miss Ratchet in Familiar Imprisonment, Cleopatra of the sky, Thatcher of the day, light thief, I worshipped her. Spent nights picking craters into my face in offering, and I exchanged this all for aging and egg yolks, and I hope she never comes back. I drink in light without a breath, scorching tongue and throat, hands to elbows, doused, skin pink and flattered and in love. Shoulders everywhere host these swelled pockets of life, suspended in crusty blister like mosquitoes, scrambling in amber, and bursting, rolling down, coating the barks of arms, the eternal day, fossilized in me, my devotion for all that is hot and sticky. One day, I looked at the sky a little too long, and the story is about staring at what is holy were true, but it's okay. She cannot help it. It is all a part of the healing, she tells me. It is all a part of the day, and it just turns out that being well is not always the difference between the light and the dark. Some things need candlelight or dimmer switches. It is all worth it, I think. I hope she never comes back. I declare her dead. There is no way for her to watch me from, no need for me to perform, nowhere for her to hang herself, nowhere for me to replay the hanging. Nothing keeps me up at night.
I am a budgie. pecking on feed from a plastic cup. Claws clipped at the cage. Tastes off. Outside, a crow is burying a walnut under a pile of dried grass. He must feel my stare as he swoops up, looks in our window, and rat-a-tat-tats like a knife on the glass. The woman baking a Betty Crocker hash cake wafts the threat away with a grandma's tea towel, pushing the smell of evanescence around the room. One hand blistered red from holding a freezing tub of Ben & Jerry's too tight. She is nervously humming along to The Sims building mode. So I sing with her, push my toys around, take a bath, try to forget.
"5 days in lockdown, and I start running somewhere. The government threatened to ban exercise. An ice rink in Milton Keynes is refashioned into a mortuary, whilst this killer infiltrates the lungs of the elderly and the young. My arms pumping, hands gripping that air. The pavement a conveyor belt churning out strides along the ring road, curving with the tram lines, past the dormant factories, crossing Baseford, winding round the River Leen, encircling the parks. I ran once before, 10 years ago, barefoot through the night, from a man, from a room with locked doors. Like any parasite, like any virus, once inside, he mutated, focused on reproduction, parasitic and lethal, until I reclaimed my body, my thumping heart, my pounding feet, my breath. 4,495 dead. We're told to stay indoors, but behind these, we're told to stay inside, but behind these doors, some women have an underlying health issue that can kill with any late return home, any burnt meal, any wrong t-shirt, holding eye contact too long. Some women are on the survey. I did consider running before this barefooted night, but my eyes barely lifted above his voice, replicated in my closed circulatory system. You won't make it out alive. But I'm greedy now. I want all the space, eat up my daily allowance, my strides wide and ravenous, a predator's bite. 400 more dead. Stopping is not an option. My eyes lift higher, hungry, and I think of those women I think of those women, their mind, their personal protective equipment, but it's running low. His words attack until each thought is a clone of his. Their eyes so infected, they start seeing themselves through his. So I keep running, knowing this is how I survived last time, one foot in front of another, with nothing but my body and my mind. My eyes meet the horizon, realizing I reached a destination when I stepped out the door. And I wonder if I react this way each time my liberty is infringed. I wonder if I'll start running in any direction until my body burns. I wonder if I'll ever stop running.
I'm sure you will agree, our live performers, just as amazing as our poetry films. Just yes. Absolutely massive thank you to all of our GOBS, past and present. So now you have seen the GOBS. It is time for our headline artist.
So, Casey Bailey, right? A lot of you might know him as a poet, and he is, let's face it, he's a bad poet. You're in for a right treat. But I say back in the day, he started out as an MC. But I'm still trying to find out his MC name, and he hasn't let this slip. So if any of you out there know Casey Bailey from way back when he used to be the MC, well, he still is an MC, don't get me wrong, he's still killing it MCing, but yeah, he's got an MC name, it's a mystery, we want to find it out. So if you ever knows it out there, just type it in the chat and embarrass him, it's fine.
So Casey Bailey, he's run GOBS through a performance masterclass as well. So that's what we're really passionate about in GOBS, is this process of co-creation. Casey's been delivering the masterclass. He's our headliner now. We've done a warm-up this afternoon. And I'm going to read you his bio, so his official bio. Casey Bailey is a writer, performer and educator born and raised in Birmingham. Casey is the current Birmingham Poet Laureate. He released his first debut full collection of poetry, Adjusted, in 2018 with Verve Poetry Press. And his second collection, Please Do Not Touch, will be published by Burning Eye this year. Casey's play, Grime Boy, will be arriving on the stages of a number of theatres this year too. Casey's poetry has featured in a number of anthologies, and he was commissioned by the BBC to write The Ballad of the Peaky Blinders. It's wicked if you get a chance to see it. In 2020, the poem was internationally recognised, winning a Webby Award, and Casey has performed his poetry nationally and internationally. And it gives us great pleasure to introduce this amazing poet and good friend of GOBS Collective to you today. So, hand it over.
Hello, everyone. No one say the MC name, first thing. Okay, so my name is Casey Bailey. Thank you for the introduction, guys. Thank you for trying to work out my secret MC name, Ioney, will never ever be revealed. Can I just say, before I get into my poetry, I want to thank Bridie and Ioney for having me involved, because the quality of poetry coming from this collective right now is just immense. So I'm so privileged to have been involved, and I'm very, very sure that very soon you will hear that piece from Sophie and you'll realize how amazing it is. Cool. So I'm going to share some poems from my upcoming collection, which is called Please Do Not Touch. It's coming out in June with Burning Eye, and I'm just setting my clock so I have an idea of how long I'm taking talking and nonsense. Cool. First poem is called Waking. There is a violence to her tossing and turning that speaks to an ingrained experience of barbarity. Her eyes shut, whimper, relays echoes of gunshots thundering through her mind. Burst berries sprayed across his jumper like they used to when she fed him at that high chair. On this day, his jumper will be cast aside by paramedics. She is fired from the barrel of her bed, too quick to feel the damp of a soaked pillowcase. She's racing to a room, searching for a boy who isn't there. He's never been there. She moved to this house to escape his ghost, to save his brother, to sleep. And always, please do not touch things that should have never been touched in the first place. And so I started writing this collection around this idea of what's going on in these places. And I focused a lot on the National Trust. And my next poem is called The Ruin. And The Ruin is a monument at a place called Shugborough Estate. And I think the poem tells its own story. The monument in the garden isn't falling down. It was built like that. The architect admired the aesthetic of ancient Athens, dilapidated statues leaning like old men on canes before hip replacements. Struggle and pain are so romantic and sexy to those who have never known them. In a world where Rottweilers gnaw their own tails off to wag their stumps for sympathy and rhinoceros shed their horns for attention, the ruin fits. With sunlight splintering off the river, giving light back to a structure that only throws shade, and dragonflies jiving across its dance floor. It is wondrous and elegant and magical, and I wish I never knew its story. Cool. So yeah, there's this like, the thing looks like it's falling down, and then you read the little plaque and they built it to look like it was falling down. It's proper annoying. Anyway, I'm not going to rant. So one of the things that I found in all of these places is the weird way that, you know, colonialism and racism and slavery was kind of dressed up like it was this pretty thing. Like I went to one of these houses and they spoke about how this British guy who ran this plantation in Kenya had allowed the people who lived there to work on the land. And it was their land, and he paid them some tiny amount of money, but they made out like he was doing them a favor. And probably the biggest example of that hypocrisy is a picture in a place called Charlotte Hall. And there's a white man, I can't remember his name, he's insignificant in this. And there's a black boy holding onto a horse, and the black boy's got a metal collar around his neck. And they describe the black boy as a page boy. And this poem is called Trompe-l'oeil, because what I also learned at a National Trust house is the art form where there's an illusion, like something is bigger than it is called Trompe-l'oeil. And this is about the illusion. The black boy with the metal collar is a page boy, chained like the horse he holds, a black beauty, a beast braced by the man he serves. Out of frame, there is champagne pissing from the heavens, intoxicating. The statue lions have been roaring into the vacuum, animated in protestation. And here, in this corridor between actuality and invention, the black boy in the collar is a page boy. Thank you. So I started writing these poems, and I had a whole selection of poems that were all focused around this theme. And I shared the poems with some wise people that I know. I shared the poems with some amazing poets. And some people got back to me and they said like something was missing, something didn't feel like it was right. And what was missing was the relevance. Like these things have happened, but what is the impact of them? And this is the reason why I'm writing the collection, but I hadn't really pinned that down in my own mind. And that is, when you grow up where I grow up, people are dying and people are killing each other and people are doing all kinds of things because the life that we live is a mess. And part of the reason why the life that we live is a mess is because of colonialism. It's because of unfair systems that have long since been in place. And I wanted to inject some of this into the collection. And the next few poems are a reflection of that. The first one is called Every Boy Who Dies in the Ghetto Is Me. Maybe I was too young. They say your life flashes before your eyes. Maybe I haven't seen enough life. The only light I saw came with a bang attached. The only thing I saw was death grinning like a schoolboy who takes lunch money at lunchtime, snatching before speaking, without care. There wasn't rain on the day I fell. The street could not clean itself. A woman who looks like my mother had to clean the blood. She saw her son turn from smiles to spray, from stain to suds to silence. She saw her boy, barely born, buried before she saw him live. And the next poem is called Every Boy Who Kills in the Ghetto Is Me. And I wrote this poem. I wrote the first poem after a conversation with a boy who had broken down about someone who was killed in his area who he didn't know, but it just really hammered home to him how close he was to death all the time. And it occurred to me that, you know, in my experience, those of us who are close to that side of it tend to be close to the other side of it. And this poem is called Every Boy Who Kills in the Ghetto Is Me. I am no Richter scale. I know nothing of earthquakes, but I can explain how the hand shakes as the trigger squeeze reaches pause points. I could describe how both hands vibrate the morning after a boy drops in the wake of their treachery. I have killed myself and lived to tell the story. Is it still suicide if the you that dies carried a different heart, answers to another name, grew on another block? When your dad says sorry to his in the courtroom, is it sorry your son died? Or sorry mine didn't? Cool. So following on with that theme, I wrote this poem, and this poem is like, it's weird because in many ways it's quite a sad poem, but the person in the poem, who I'm sure at one point was me, has a certain figure in the place that I come from. And so this poem is called Days Like This. Like water down the drain pipe, he will spill into the hoodie. He will settle in the black Air Max 90s that he keeps for days like this. 10 toes extending through the soul. On days like this, he could snatch the stars from the sky and you would thank him for allowing you to live to see the darkness. He only knows how to die and kill, rinse and repeat. He only knows days like this come every day. Grim Reaper hoodie and black Air Max 90s, he stays ready for days like this. Cool. And one of the things that I struggled with doing the poems around the National Trust is I was really beginning to enjoy these spaces. And the main reason I was enjoying them is because I was taking my son to these spaces and I was showing him things that I'd never grown up seeing. And at first I battled with that and I felt like a bit hypocritical, so I didn't want to write about it. But then I thought, nah, man, this is the real. So this next poem is called Soup. It's about my son. It's about my wife, and it's about love. Today, you ate soup like it was the first meal you had eaten in days. You had half a cheese sandwich for lunch at 1:30. There is soup on the table and bread in your hair. You look like Mowgli from the Jungle Book. If Mowgli had eaten soup. And you smile as the yogurt is placed in front of you. You look at yogurt how I looked at your mother the day I met her. How I looked at your mother at 4 o'clock this morning as she sighed in her sleep, dreaming of you and your ways. You look at yogurt how I looked at your mother when I found her in the art room painting at college. Her paintbrush darting like sparrows on autumn mornings, leaving crimsons and caramels in their wake. I knew then that she would spend her whole life both making and being beauty. She feeds you yogurt. I take the wipes out. There is soup all over the floor. Cool. And I'm going to read 2 more. And that poem had to go into the collection. And the next poem really had to go into the collection. And the inspiration for writing poems like this penultimate poem came from Caleb Femi. I read Caleb Femi's Poor, which deals with so many difficult and troublesome situations, but it reminded me that there is joy and there is love and there is happiness right there in the middle of the ends. So this poem is called 2 Swings. And they will not hold hands. Instead, they will let little fingers hang intertwined. In this bond, they will keep the time, he said. I don't know, man. You're special. And the time she said, maybe not all boys, just most. Between this finger link and his black Air Max 95s brushing alongside her white Air Force Ones, they will hold a phenomenon that breaks every rule of this place. They will wrap it warmly in black tracksuits, dip it in honey, coat it with Demerara sugar, and rock it backward and forwards on these swings under midnight sky. Cool. And so my final poem is not from Please Do Not Touch. It's from my collection Adjusted. I said when I wrote this poem that I would perform it until I had something more important to say at the end of a set. I still don't think that's the case. The poem deals with suicide and it deals with the stigma around suicide, and it's called Multiple Choice. Find a new place to hang this. Find a new place to hang this noose. Stop killing those who have already killed themselves, like they haven't suffered enough already, carried enough already, died enough already. To label somebody a coward when they are no longer here to represent themselves has to be the worst cocktail of cowardice and hypocrisy that I have ever tasted. Maybe he did it because he saw no hope in this life. Maybe she did it because her only hope is that another life would follow. I always thought the most difficult multiple choice questions are the ones where you feel like all of the answers could be right. Gravity is pulling us all down. And just because bricks fall faster than feathers, it doesn't mean they're weaker. They just carry more weight. A man who looked young but aged, with a face like distressed furniture, once told me that the greatest misconception around suicidal people is the thought that they want to die. Nobody wants to die. The issue is not everybody wants to live either. The most difficult multiple choice questions are not the ones where you are sure that all of the answers could be right. The most difficult multiple choice questions are the ones where you are sure that none of the answers are right. And then you have to choose one anyway. Thank you. Guys, thank you for listening. You can pre-order my book now on my website, which is caseybailey.co.uk. Thank you, GOBS, for having me involved. You guys have been amazing. I'm I'm trying to follow all your work now so I can tell people that I was there when you started killing it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Casey. A massive Zoom round of applause to Casey Bailey, everyone. I see you all in the chat. So what we're going to do is we're going to invite Sophie Diver back for a little absolutely live in front of you sound check to try and get her amazing poem to your luggles. So Sophie,
come on, Soph.
May I ask you to turn your camera on, turn your microphone on, and hopefully we'll have a bit more luck this time. Here we go. Yeah! So,
third time's a charm. Thank you. So
third
sorry.
time is a charm. All right. Okay. Goodbye from me and Ioney. Take a big deep breath.
Yep.
Please stand clear of the doors. With elevated coffee cup, you move with sharpened claws. Through the shroud of morning bulletins, let's walk and talk tailored suits, and downcast metropolitans you shrink into corners for necessary alchemy, traveling vanity, beholden to mascara and low center of gravity, until the waltz of the sorry and excuse me please. A light here for rush of bodies and underground breeze. Mind the gap, he says, to a desk of one's own with window aspirations, because this girl can. Swivel chair and 2 drawers, but they never mentioned glass ceiling in open plan. This is your opportunity. Time to really lean in. Time for going forward. Time for just checking in. Time for, I'm just popping out, so do you want anything? Time for, it was banter. But you knew that, right, hon? And yeah, of course. That's no problem. I'll get it all done. For post-meeting analysis in the ladies, were you a little too nice or a lot too crazy? Remember, could be a whole lot worse. It's a team effort. Doesn't matter if you said it first. Remember, you're here for the meritocracy believer, the same who ask, is there someone here more senior? You're here to lose the daily 5-degree fight, to change into Nikes before you leave for the night and begin the evening standard stumble to a chorus of ticket barrier canaries, rushing home before the dark gets too leery. Take a seat in a steel capsule of allies refueling their worth, still firm in stance, in voice, and immobile in birth. They scroll silent, without signal, carriage after carriage in contemplative vigil, in shared salute to those already been, that took up space, found a chair, and refused a pseudonym. To Karen Silkwood, Norma Ray, Ford's machinists, and Hildy Johnson in His Girl Friday. For those who own that unapologetic drive, because honestly, how many exclamation marks would Dolly have typed in 9 to 5? And Mary Queen of Scots, who never ended a letter with no worries if not. Mind the gap, he says.
Wow, Thank you.
So worth the wait.
Yes, massive thank you to Sophie and to all of you for being so patient. Obviously, that is the joy of live performance. We're serving it
in a lockdown,
very, very fresh. So, as Ioney says, absolutely worth the wait. We won't take much more of your time. Just going to give a massive thank you to our headliner, Casey Bailey. Massive thank you to all the GOBS, for all of you that are watching tonight. And again, thank you to our partners, Apples and Snakes, curated and created by NTU. Thank you to MakerMet. Yeah, thank you all for coming.
Thank you. And if you've really enjoyed what you've seen today and you want a little piece more, if you think, oh, I could do with doing something like that, why not check our website out? So if you go to gobscollective.org, you can find more information about us, up and coming programs and up and coming workshops. Speaking of which, we have one this Monday, a workshop focused on performance by an ex-GOB, well, once a GOB, always a GOB, but a GOB from our other cohort, Alia. She's going to be delivering a workshop on Monday. So if you want a piece of that, check out the website, gobscollective.org, and sign yourselves up.
Yes, and don't forget to follow us on social media at GOBS Collective on absolutely everything. Yeah, if you follow us, we're obviously going to post some updates of what's going on with us. And if you want to read the poems that you have heard tonight, we have got an anthology on our website in big letters. Download our zine, so go ahead and do that so you can revisit the amazing work that you've heard tonight. So that is enough from us. Don't forget gobscollective.org. Check it out. Maybe see you on Monday.
Yay! See you. Thanks for coming.
Oh, wait. We're going to invite all the GOBS on screen to wave.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You need to see their faces.
Turn your cameras on. All GOBS. Hi.
Let's see them faces.
Gallery view. It might. I think Alex might need to turn us on, turn people on.
Well, he's saying that they're here in spirit.
They're here in spirit.
Yeah. It's just having a few technical issues, but you know, we will not be defeated by technology. We will continue regardless.
The joy of live.
Thank you to Alex, who's probably going crazy at the moment, trying to read everyone's face. There they are, coming through.
Thanks everyone for coming.